Alright, so quick shop update. I did go ahead and buy an El Cheapo vise. This is a grizzly vise. And it's not as bad as I would have thought. I knew from just watching any video where anybody ever buys anything Chinese that all these edges needed deburred. I think I missed one right there. And not only that, but you have to tear it down, which I did, and get all the grinding dust off this, because you add a little bit of oil and essentially you have lapping compound. And when I set this up, I made sure to stone every surface, including the base here and the rotary base and the top of the rotary base as well. And as I did that, I noticed someone must have been moving this at the factory around on the rotary base, because there was already a good solid mark where the rotary base makes contact with this. So someone was moving it around before it was cleaned or taken care of or anything. So there's a solid, I wouldn't say it's too much. I don't even think it's a tenth. So this guy feels like real Chinesium quality. Just small and rattly and not the greatest. Doesn't fit quite well. Compared to the Kirk ones I've used in the past, like this is, it works. That's about all I can say. So I'm trying to do this through the camera. So yeah. Already feel grit, landing down on it. I've had it for like 2 weeks and I've got a solid layer of dust, and I already wiped down the inside of the jaws, but there was already a solid layer of dust in there too. I switched over to, instead of the dusk theme on G-Screen, I switched over. I don't know what this one is actually. Good profiles. There it is, orange. XFCE orange. Again, I'm doing this through the camera. And I switched because the contrast is so much better. Like I can tell when something's clicked, as opposed to on the dusk one where it's it's very close, and the two colors kind of blend into each other. So after a while clicking something, it just looks like it could be unclicked. It's kind of weird, but yeah, and especially you can see the dividing lines between the offsets. So, oh, and before you could only see the offset for your work offset. Sorry, shaky camera. That you selected, so you couldn't even see any of these until you picked it. So that was obnoxious. Still haven't gotten this thing. It still cuts off just a little bit of the display. Here on the side, you see those arrows should be full, but they're not. And up there where you can switch to inch and metric, it's cut off as well. A little bit of the status is cut off, but I don't know if that's the screen's fault or Linux fault. The screen that I had this on originally when I was prototyping and everything, it had the same issue, but I only noticed it on one side, so I think this screen resolution is not 100%, to par or to the advertised size. And I got that guy to finally work. So in Linux, in the motor settings where you set your travel, it took me forever to find it, and I don't know why, because it was even labeled, but it lets you select whether or not your home switch is in the negative direction or the positive direction, and I did not know that, and so it took me forever to find out. But anyways, last thing, this guy goes the oiler. I thought this oiler was 3-phase. Since I don't have true, and you can see I have not cleaned this from the dirty shop that it was in originally, I should have, because it left rust marks, rust stains all over the side when the temperature and the humidity crept up this spring. But I thought this was 3-phase, and I looked at it again, and it's not 3-phase, it's just 220. So you got your neutral, your line 1, ground, line 2 there. And I was looking, zoomed in a bit, inside right here, it's got one for motor and one for oil, or for oil level. I can't read it. I'm reading through the camera again, so, and being that it's upside down. But anyways, I think this is set up just like any other Bridgeport one, where when the motor pops on, this comes on. But I'm probably not going to keep to that wiring, because even when it's idle, and the motor isn't a definitive statement of whether or not this is in use, because the motor may not be running and the oil ports do not go to the motor. I've got these oilers, which are pretty standard oilers, a little grease port right there, but pretty standard little oilers for this. And just like any other Bridgeport, that's how you oil the spindle. Now for the ways, they've put, where is it? These cords, and that is full of broaching chips, because this thing originally was next to a broaching machine. So I'm not going to touch that again, but they've got these cords, and I think I showed in another video, they've got these cords too, which that's degraded over time. Like up here you can see where sun damage got to it, and it just like cracked apart, and that's about it. And this thing, I didn't know when I bought this machine, but this does not actually have the original oil or coolant pump in it or anything. Like, it's got a coolant tank, and in fact I'm going to show you that here in a moment, because it's got to be the grossest coolant tank I've ever seen. So they've got all your coolant plumbing but no pump, which I could probably substitute, say, a sump pump from like Home Depot for it, and that would be pretty inexpensive. I just have to strain it and get all that done. But yeah, here you see a secondary. I might actually pull one of these off, because I was thinking we might be able to do, say, a mist. If I put a T here, actually I can steal that T, maybe. I don't think those threads are the same for that to that. In fact, I know they're not the same. I take that back. But I want to put a T here and do a mist system, so we got coolant up here and then a little knob where I can adjust the amount of coolant coming out. But all right, I'm going to record this moving, because as I move, you'll see that, yeah, that's black tar, and you can see the coolant underneath. And those, when I first pulled this out, this coolant tank out, I wanted to see the bottom, so I took a drywall scraper and I scraped, and there's about ½ inch to ¼ inch of slime just there at the bottom. You can see they've got different reservoir tanks, which is pretty nice. That way you can filter, you know, through each one. And then the chips, say you got chips in your coolant, they fall down to the bottom of this one. Then by the time it gets up, I can't tell if you can see this, but there's two holes right here, and then the coolant level comes up, and then it drains into this next one, and any particulates go down, and then that fills up, and then it goes and drains into this last one, and the last one has the pump in it, or should have the pump in it, but it doesn't. And then it goes and pumps back up. That way you're not getting any junk in your coolant, or in this case, black oil-based sludge that might have been coolant at one point that has totally separated and has become totally unusable and totally nasty, and I don't even know where to dispose of this stuff properly. I'm gonna have to find that out. But anyways, that's my coolant tank problem. And this is right underneath the machine. So there's the Y-axis handle, So tunk's right in here. This whole thing's hollow. There is a cord back there that you can't see, but I have pulled it out. It's a 20 cord. I think 3-phase, and that originally went to the pump, but it's just a cord that sits down there now and has nothing to do, and I don't even have it wired up. So yep, that's what we got for coolant. But anyways, if you manage to survive me rambling on about my machining issues, really not issues, just things I need to do. I got to get the oiler and the coolant system, or figure out a mist system that I can make myself for relatively cheap. And yeah, now I will hopefully be able to take the time and when I get a surface plate, and take this guy apart and blue it, because right now I've got an angle plate that I do all my scraping off of, and it's a bit small for the work that I would like to do. Like it's maybe half the size of this vise. So, and if I were to scrape it, or I wouldn't scrape a vise, but I don't know if you can scrape a vise, but if I were to look at it and get a measurement of, okay, is this thing warped, or was it ground improperly, which I bet it is, I can look at it and cringe at my life decisions and send it out and get reground, or buy a new one later on when I have the money. So yeah, this is just an El Cheapo for the time being. So anyways, if you've sat through this video, I thank you, and you are amazing, because watch duration is a rare thing. You must have the integrity to sit through this, so I thank you, and I'm going to shut up now. So thank you for watching, and if you liked it, let me know what you think, and subscribe and comment and all that good stuff. So alright, I'll see you in the next video.